one of the most important indie albums of the 2000s wasn't released on a record label. It wasn't backed by a publicist. It wasn't supposed to work. No hit singles, no industry hype, just five guys, a homemade CD, and a name that sounded kinda like a dare. Its legacy is a different one, merely because it was a first of sorts. Clap Your Hands, Say Yeah didn't just sidestep the music business, they bulldozed right past it, and in doing so, they changed how bands could break through. This is the story of the band that went viral before going viral was really even a thing. It's the story of raw sound, right timing, and one album that rewrote the rules. Hi, I'm Andy Fenstermaker, host of Poetic Wax, a weekly music history series and podcast where I dig into the record collection I've been building since the 1990s and explore the sometimes little known and little told history of a band, album, or song from within. In the mid-2000s, a quiet revolution was building, not in boardrooms or radio stations, but in bedrooms and basements. Bands were bypassing the industry's golden gates and forging their own paths, direct to listeners, direct to history. And Clap Your Hands, Say Yeah was at the vanguard. The year is 2004. Brooklyn's indie scene is kind of a kaleidoscope of cross-pollinating sounds. Post-punk revival, art rock, electronic experimentation. The Strokes had loosened the tie a little bit. Interpol had dimmed the lights, and the Yeah Yeah Yeahs had lit the curtains on fire. But while those bands rode in on label deals and media buzz, another story was brewing further down the dial. Clap Your Hands, Say Yeah was born not in Brooklyn, but in the dorm rooms of Connecticut College, where friends bonded over Talking Heads records, over dusty acoustic guitars, and over the idea that maybe, just maybe, there was still room for originality in indie rock. Alec Unsworth, the band's idiosyncratic frontman, was never built for convention. His warbly, wavering voice often drew early comparisons to David Byrne, but that's only half the story. Unsworth didn't imitate weirdness, he inhabited it. With Sean Greena on drums, Tyler Sargent on bass, Lee Sargent on guitar and keys, and Robbie Gurton adding guitar and keyboards, the band developed their own off-kilter chemistry. Here's Alec in a Facebook post from long ago. I often get asked about where the name Clap Your Hands, Say Yeah came from. Very simply, it came from graffiti in Brooklyn that we passed after rehearsal in 2004. A friend was on the phone as we were passing and was asking us to open for his band at Siberia, I think. We had had maybe 3 practices at the time. He asked if we had a name, and I said no, but we'll just name ourselves after this graffiti for now, and then change it later. That's about all there is to it. It was a true self-starter story. Rather than shopping demos to A&Rs or chasing after indie label rosters, the band decided to go it alone. They pressed their debut album themselves, sold it through their website, and packaged CDs in brown paper sleeves sealed with wax. Word of mouth became wildfire. Music blogs, then in their cultural infancy, grabbed onto the band's debut with rabid enthusiasm. Pitchfork, Stereogum, and countless music forums passed around early MP3s like Contraband. It was the sound of something authentic, a rough-hewn honesty that felt untouched by corporate fingerprints. Clap Your Hands, Say Yeah became the poster child for the post-label internet era. No publicist, no major distribution, no cosigns, just 5 musicians, a 5-word unforgettable band name that could kind of be forgotten, and one of the most intriguing debut albums of the decade. The year was now 2005, and to fully understand what made Clap Your Hands, Say Yeah stand out, you have to look at who they weren't. They weren't Arcade Fire, who just a year earlier had released Funeral on Merge Records. An indie label, yes, but well-connected one with built-in audience, distribution, and a press machine that got them in front of David Bowie and U2 by year's end. Clap Your Hands, Say Yeah had no infrastructure, no label, no manager, no PR plan. Just 5 musicians, once again, a self-burned CD, and a website. Yet somehow they found themselves at the center of the indie music conversation in 2005, which itself was growing by rapid fire. Bands like Death Cab for Cutie and The Shins climbed with help of college radio and indie imprints. But Clap Your Hands, Say Yeah exploded thanks to something newer, murkier, and far more volatile: music blogs. Sites like Stereogum, Pitchfork, Gorilla vs. Bear, well, these weren't just tastemakers, they were gatecrashers, capable of turning bedroom recordings into blogosphere gold overnight. Remember, in 2005, many of these sites were just in their infancy. And with a glowing 9.0 Pitchfork review, Clap Your Hands Say Yeah rode that wave to sold-out shows and tens of thousands of direct-to-fan CD sales. Greena said to NPR in 2005 that it started out with 1 or 2 orders a day, and then it just exploded. There had been flickers of this before. The Postal Service had built buzz online in 2003, but that was on Sub Pop with a built-in network dating back over a decade. Neutral Milk Hotel had built cult status in the late 90s, but their rise was slow and real niche. Clap Your Hands Say Yeah, by contrast, were standing at the edge of something entirely new, and they jumped. They were, in many ways, the first truly viral DIY indie band of the internet era to break at scale, without a label, without a team, without permission. Their success wasn't just improbable, it was proof of concept. That a band could chart their own path, press their own CDs, ship them from their living room, and still end up selling out venues across 2 continents. David Byrne, in Wired in 2005, stated, "The Clap Your Hands record really surprised me. It feels very honest." This was a template that would echo into the next generation of music, through Bandcamp bedroom projects, SoundCloud rap, and honestly today's TikTok-fueled fame. But in 2005, this kind of success was completely uncharted. And that's the big picture. While other bands were navigating the industry, Clap Your Hands Say Yeah took an unlit side road and arrived first. No map, no machine, just music that moved, imperfect and ecstatic, and entirely their own. But we have to look at the album and how it was uneven, unrelenting, and that kind of helped make it unforgettable. From the carnival backer chaos of the opening track, complete with warped organ and surrealist cheer, to the introspective majesty of Details of the War, the album is a zigzag through moods, tempos, and textures. It feels intentionally unpolished, almost like a statement against overproduction. The Skin of My Yellow Country Teeth became its own kind of anthem, a song built on a twitchy rhythm section, melodic minimalism, and a feeling of forward motion, musically and metaphorically. It wasn't just catchy, it moved. According to the band, the song was a holdover from Unsworth's solo material, proof that even early on he had a singular songwriting voice. Is This Love, with its unsteady rhythm and yelping vocals, was the album's most polarizing track. Some dismissed it as indulgent, others hailed it as a mission statement. But there's no denying its conviction. It bursts through speakers like an invitation into a dream that's already started without you. Elsewhere, songs like Upon This Tidal Wave of Young Blood and Let the Cool Goddess Rust Away cloak themes of alienation and transformation in literary allusion and lyrical abstraction. The lyrics often read like stream of consciousness poetry, but beneath them, a clear-eyed sense of yearning. Speaking of DIY, pausing for a quick moment of self-promotion, Poetic Wax can be found on YouTube, on your favorite podcast platforms, on TikTok, and on Substack. I'd love it if you followed me in multiple places. You can also join the weekly newsletter where I get a little bit more personal at poeticwaxpodcast.com/join. When Pitchfork gave the album a stellar 9.0 rating, the buzz crescendoed into national attention. Suddenly, this DIY record, was it even a record or just a CD? Recorded for just a few $1,000s, was being featured on Rolling Stone, played on KCRW, and name-dropped by David Bowie and David Byrne alike. Still, not everybody knew what to make of it. Some critics called the vocals grating, which I get. The production sloppy, understandable, and the songwriting too precious. Precious? What are we, Gollum? But even the detractors couldn't deny the impact. The band was selling out shows across the US and the UK, and their self released CD was moving tens of thousands of copies. Rare air for the unsigned at the time. Clap Your Hands didn't just invent the internet success story, but they defined a moment, a hinge point between old industry models and the freewheeling blog era. Their debut self-titled album has since become a touchstone for DIY music in the digital age. Proof that with the right songs, the right moment, and the right conviction, an indie band could bypass the traditional playbook entirely. The band would go on to release more records, each one stretching, splintering, evolving, but that debut retains a raw magnetism. It's not just the songs, it's the feeling, that spark of hearing something wild and wonderful that no one handed you. Sometimes the first to arrive don't make the biggest noise. They just strike the first note that others follow. Clap Your Hands Say Yeah struck that note, and the reverberations still haven't stopped. Sometimes the weird kids win, and that disruption doesn't always come with a warning. Clap Your Hands Say Yeah didn't just break through, they broke format. And in doing so, they opened the door that countless others would walk through, knowingly or not. So, in a world of algorithms and gatekeepers, their rise reminds us what can still happen when good music meets the right moment and doesn't ask permission first. Because for a moment in time, this band turned whispers into roars and proved that music made in bedrooms could actually fill ballrooms and still echo 2 decades later.